Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependummy Podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. Now, in your 20s, you're finding yourself exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. Codependency is a way of being where we put the feelings, wants, and needs of others above our own in an unconscious attempt to meet our own feelings, wants, and needs. Sorry to break it to you, sis, but that is not sustainable. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Hey girl, hey. It's your hostess mostess, Marissa, coming to you live from my mom and dad's house. Girl, I have already tried to record a handful of times, and my dad, gotta love dad, he is currently cutting a box, a huge box, because he got a new TV, and he's cutting it to, I believe, fit it into the recycling bin. So you might hear that. A neighbor is mowing their lawn, and I live in the world. So please excuse any background noises, and welcome to episode 48 of the Codependummy Podcast. I'd like to check in with you. I'm going to check in on how I'm doing, discuss some ways you can support the podcast, and then we will truly dive in to today's topic, tools for healing. All right. So let's take a breath, baby girl, and take a moment to turn inward. And I want you to ask yourself, well, answer these questions. How are you? How has your week been? How are you feeling overall? It's important to check in and pay attention. And while you're reflecting internally, I want to express my gratitude to you for being here. On October 27th, we celebrated 9 months. So the Codependummy Podcast has had our metaphorical baby. And thus far, I took a look and we have had over 16,000 unique downloads since the end of January. And I looked up venues. So with the exact number, it's like 16,300 something. We have filled the Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas, which has the same capacity as our listenership, as these unique downloads. So while we're here reflecting internally, checking in, I encourage you to picture being at this Allen Fieldhouse with over 16,000 fellow Codependummy listeners who are on their healing journey alongside you. right? You are not alone. I am not alone. We are not alone as we endeavor to heal from our codependency. And thank you for filling one of those seats. We could not have done this without you. And I want to welcome, we have new listeners from Morocco, Nigeria, and Taiwan, as well as other countries internationally, new listeners in the US, near and far. Thank you for being here. On my end, checking in, I have to admit that I did not dress up as Olivia Rodrigo for Halloween. I'm sorry. I recorded and uploaded that episode prior to Halloween. And in between uploading and when the episode aired, Halloween passed and my plans for that evening fell through. So I didn't dress up. I had the stickers ready. I had my tank top ready. I had the vision to be Miss Olivia Rodrigo, and I didn't do it. So I apologize if you went to my Instagram and were disappointed. That was my fault. So I'm sorry. Next costume party I go to, I am ready. I will dress up and post it and let you know. And I did have a codependummy moment this past week. I was co-hosting an event on Zoom. I was the timekeeper for introductions, and the attendees were going around and had about 2 minutes to introduce ourselves, share about who we are, what we do. And there were 2 women who went over their time, and it didn't seem like they were going to stop anytime soon. It was like, oh God, okay. They didn't hear the timer, and B, they're just gonna, there's no stopping this train. And internally, quickly building the courage to say their name and having to repeat it because they couldn't hear me, I felt hot, my face flushed. I sensed that my breathing got very quick and shallow breaths. And it took a lot internally. And I was reflecting afterwards on another codependummy rule I think I have internally, which is, in my effort not to disrupt you, I will feel very disrupted internally, right? And I thought about this too after the butt massage episode. In my effort, I will not offend you, and I will offend myself. In my effort not to offend you, I will allow you to offend me. Right? It's so hard. Even in a Zoom meeting, during introductions, when I'm the freaking timer and these people are going longer than their time, the format is clear. The expectation is there. And yet, that's why we have boundaries and we have to keep building them, because it's difficult to adhere to them at times. I don't think it was intentional. They're just not aware of the 2-minute lapse. And yet, I really had to debrief with myself afterwards, take some breaths, ground myself, because what it means for me to interrupt you, and on some level, the terror of you sensing I'm rigid, controlling. I don't know, snappy. And also, I think too, on a deeper level, I am worried semi-consciously that by interrupting them, I will be met with anger. And I still struggle with meeting that anger and not taking it personally. That didn't happen. That rarely happens. And yet just terrified of anger. So I'm working on interrupting others when appropriate. And it was appropriate. So I wanted to share that with you. Since it has been 9 months, I wanted to review some ways you can support the podcast. So, number one, you can subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And I noticed that my voice is a little dry, so I'm going to take a sip. Everyone, if you have something to drink, just take a little sip. We'll have a little hydration, a little water break. All right. Second, you can leave a rating, 1 to 5 stars. And third, you can write a review. I look at them, I appreciate them, I am encouraged and or receive critical feedback from them. So please feel free to write a review. And lastly, share an episode with a friend, family member, or colleague who you sense will resonate and is a fellow codependummy. Okay, deep breath, girl. Without further ado, let's discuss tools for healing. Journaling. Journaling, writing, keeping a diary, etc. So you, my dear sweet listener, you are already doing the work. And the work as in the healing from codependency work. And you are doing that by listening to this podcast. Let's acknowledge that. And excuse me. This episode and future episodes on this segment, this is a new segment, Tools for Healing. I'm going to focus on certain tools, coping skills, and strategies of healing that are simply meant to bolster, add, support, and empower what you're already doing. I'm going to put a spotlight on these tools that have helped me and my patients on our healing journey from codependency in an effort to help you. Okay, but I just listen. I sense I'm saying that because I don't want you to feel obligated. I don't want you to think, like this, I'm not doing this and thus I'm a piece of shit. This is food for thought about journaling. If you already journal, it may give you more ideas. If you don't, it will help you reflect on what's getting in between you and journaling. And this is food for thought. Okay. You are already doing the work. Just want to start with that. All right. So, how the remainder of the episode is going to go, I'm going to discuss reasons for journaling. I will then share an anecdote where journaling truly helped me get out of a codependummy dilemma. I will then have some suggestions for journaling, and then we will conclude with information on the premier product from the podcast. Here we go. 3 reasons why you ought to be journaling. First, it's an alignment forming activity. That sounded weird. It's an aligning activity. It puts you into alignment. In his book, I believe it's called Success Coaching, something like that. This Canadian success coach, Brian Tracy, I read a lot of his content last year. He encouraged writing, journaling, because it is an activity that psychologists call a psycho-neuro-motor activity. Psycho-neuro-motor. Okay, what does that mean? Psycho, as in the brain, right? You think as you are journaling. Neuro, relating to the nervous system, which fancy schmancy terms are the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic is like literally when you have sympathy for someone because you're like, oh, they're in a really bad spot and their body's in fight or flight. And parasympathetic, para, I created this when I was in school. Para means for. And so for sympathy, kind of like for relaxation. So neuro connects you to the nervous system, hopefully the parasympathetic most of the time because you're journaling in a relaxed state, but sometimes you're writing about trauma. So you're triggering that too, which is okay in a safe space. And motor, movement. Okay. The motor system, your skeletal muscles connected with your muscle tissue, right? You're writing, you're literally moving your hand. Your brain is firing off neurons to make that happen. So your hands, your body is moving, your nervous system is it's always active, but you're triggering aspects of it, and your brain, you're thinking, psycho-neuro-motor activity. And thus, since you are utilizing all these different parts of your mind, heart, and body, that really can help with putting you in alignment with yourself. First reason why journaling is so effective. Second reason, it's an honest activity. It is you, your pen, and the page. You, your keyboard, and your Google document. Excuse me, there's no filter, no need to censor yourself. The host of the podcast Armchair Expert, Dax Shepard, he had an episode last year, it was in the fall of 2020, where he admitted to relapsing from his sobriety, which was over a decade. I can't remember how long, but he, in the episode, what stood out to me, a couple things stood out, but he acknowledged that in his descent into his relapse, he stopped journaling because he, on a arguably unconscious level, knew that if he continued, he would have to be honest with himself. And he didn't want to keep lying to himself in his journal. Don't quote me on the specifics, but I that's what I remember. That's what stood out. And so if we are journaling regularly, it's an opportunity to be honest, to become honest, quit the bullshit with ourselves. And unlike all the other areas in your life, when you journal, you can be honest with yourself and honest about others. You don't have to worry about their feelings. You don't have to worry about being politically correct. You don't have to worry about being misperceived. It's just you and the page and your ability to be honest, become honest, honor your truth. Third reason you ought to be journaling, it's self-reliant. Self-reliance is an aspect of being a codependent diamond. We also want healthy reliance on others and also self-reliance. Oh man. When you journal, unlike seeking answers from other people, you can seek it from yourself. You have the ability to flesh out your own solutions, suggestions, ideas to address your problems. That is the potential. That is the ideal. When I journal, it is me, myself, and I having a collaborative discussion, exploration, and visualization of my solutions. I know that we codependummies often do not trust ourselves. We do not believe in ourselves. We do not sense that we know what to do, what is best. And that is a consequence of being well practiced, well rehearsed, habituated to seeking solutions from others. So in our effort to combat that, journaling offers an amazing opportunity. I keep saying opportunity. God, an amazing window, but that's opportunity. Okay. A space to seek answers from ourselves. And over time, it will get better and we will figure it out, or most of it, part of it, on our own, and then be able to seek healthy input and feedback from others. Those are the 3 reasons you ought to be journaling. It's aligning, it's honest, and it's self-reliant. For me, I have been writing, I had a diary when I was young, 5, 6 years old, and I have been journaling ever since, off and on, in elementary school, middle school, high school. And at 19, when I first went to therapy in the depths of my codependency, that was when it truly became a habit, where at first and for years, I journaled online on my laptop, and I would write myself a daily email. When I was able, I would have a Word document and just type in there. I have done question and answer workbooks. I have read books that had prompts and deeper reflection chapters. I would answer those, other resources. It's been 14 years since I started journaling pretty much daily. And for 14 years, I have kept doing it because of the reasons I just said. It's aligning, it's honest, and it's self-reliant. And also, this just came to me, it works. It truly, I have sensed the benefit overall from that daily practice. And an example from my life, it was in 2015. I'm gonna take a sip of water. So water break, everyone. Cheers. I have my Ali Wong mug. I don't know if you guys saw her special, but my husband bought me this cup afterwards because I loved it so much. It's that part where she says, I don't want to lean in. I want to lie down. So I just want to drink some water. Okay. 2015, it was the summer before my last semester in graduate school. I was in a 2.5-year program with the hope of graduating on time that December of 2015. In the spring semester and going into the summer, I had taken summer school and the previous years, potentially adding a course here or there during the semester, and I found myself with a decent amount of free time. With that free time, I concluded I ought to get an on-campus job to make some extra money while I also go to school full-time and finish my thesis. Which, yeah, looking back, I don't know why I did that. I easily could have filled the time with school, my thesis, my then boyfriend, family, exercise, therapy, support groups, and life I was living. But I was young and naive, pretty much done with school, so why not make some extra cash? I remember intentionally looking for a campus job. I've shared about this before. I was a barista during my undergrad and I loved it. And I loved working on campus. I loved the flexibility. I loved the sense of community that position provided me. And when fast forward in graduate school, when I applied, there were positions at the library, barista jobs, and I was offered an administrative position for the campus's MBA program. And, okay, I'll apply. I'll come into an interview. And it was already hard. The interview. In order to interview, I had to create a 10-minute presentation on my experience at the school. And I'm saying that with this voice because there were other jobs that weren't even that hard. And where's that? Like, red flag. But I made a speech. It was a good speech. I got hired. And I was a program specialist for the MBA program. It entailed a lot of computer work and information sessions for potential students and helping applicants navigate their applications to the program. And there were obviously tons of other students working there. And my boss, we will call her Lily, and she was in charge of our department, which was recruiting, something like that, admissions. And there were multiple offices. And then there was a big, boss of everyone. We'll call her Lisa. And yeah, from the first day, I wanted to please get the approval and attention, adoration from both of them. Right? Being codependent, I was the best employee ever. So I was doing administrative work, helping in my position, and also updating systems and going above and beyond and doing things really quickly and being recognized for that, which filled my codependummy heart. And I could tell that Lily liked me. I could tell that Lisa liked me. And that's all I really needed. So I recall we had the orientation for the new students, and they sent an email out to everyone, and in big red caps, like, you must be here at 7 a.m. for orientation. And I think it alluded to that if we were late, that might be grounds for dismissal. It was very serious. And I remember waking up early and driving early to avoid traffic and getting an ideal parking spot, because parking on campus was a nightmare, and probably getting there at 6:45, because if I got there at 6:46, in my codependent brain, that was grounds for firing. And Lily, she arrived. Orientation, I think, started at 9. We had to get there at 7. I think she walked in after 8. She didn't say anything. We didn't say anything. I remember there were some grumbles between me and my colleagues. And it was just a moment where I sense on a deep and profound level that didn't seem as deep and profound then, was very disappointing, very discouraging, the respect that I had for her prior was impacted, unfortunately. Which, for a sensitive, and I say this with love to myself, like, I was sensitive and fragile, and it makes sense that really did impact me. Part of me wishes it didn't, and also, like, it's okay. Like, okay, now I can hear my sister playing music, so I'm just like, I am in a house and I have a family. Everyone who's listening, oh my God, I can't believe this. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going, you guys. So that was a moment, right? I thought I was gonna get fired if I were late, and she strolls in over an hour after we were all there, and like, no, just not even acknowledging that too. She just walked up like, hey guys, how's it going? Good morning. Okay. It impacted me. I'm still talking about it today. So that happened. And something else that really did impact me while I was there was it was an on-campus job, and we were students. Thus, the office itself, the department itself, the staff, it was like a revolving door. I remember we'd have someone new and then someone would be leaving. Then we'd hire someone else and then another student would be leaving. And the staff, like my boss, Lily, they would act overwhelmed and disappointed and frustrated and judgmental of people who left. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, no shit, they left. They're students. Excuse me. My main job back then was finish your master's degree. Anything outside of that is second. That's second priority. First priority, graduate on time. And for those who left, if there was a conflict with their class schedule, if they found another campus job, if they got an internship, we would leave. That makes sense. And yet I felt on a deep level, I cannot leave. I cannot leave Lily. I cannot leave Lisa. I cannot leave this department because I can't be like these other people. Right? Other people can leave, but I can't leave. Codependent rule. Around the time of the orientation, the beginning of the fall semester, I started to recognize with my course load, my impending defense of my master's thesis, and my looming graduation, that I would not be able to work, finish my thesis, get decent grades, and graduate all at the same time. I recognized that I might have to quit. My sister's playing music. So when I realized that I might have to quit, you guys, I was despondent. I was sad. I was depressed. I started to share this realization, and I was sobbing and crying and crying and sobbing. I talked about this realization that I likely needed to quit to graduate on time. I talked about it in a support group I was attending with my mom, with my dad, with my twin sister, with my older sister, with my then boyfriend. I mean, the guilt, the shame, the self-blame, the irresponsibility that I felt imagining quitting my part-time on-campus job at the MBA program was profound. I admit that I truly almost chose to remain in my on-campus position. I almost chose to remain there and forfeit my thesis, my timely graduation, my future career prospects. Why? I did not want to disappoint Lily. I did not want to disappoint Lisa. And I did not want to be associated with all those other students who had left the months prior and who probably would leave the months after. This sentiment that I had is reminiscent of experiences with my mom and dad. Not wanting to disappoint them, not wanting to be affiliated with, negative traits of my sisters, of people that they judged and looked down on and were disappointed by, not wanting to negatively impact them. And these feelings that obviously I hadn't resolved, they were coming up at work, right? What it means for me to disappoint others by asserting my needs. I need to graduate on time. So I sense, due to experiences in my past, they were coming up in my present at work, and I was finding myself unable to prioritize my need and was very tempted to continue prioritizing the needs of others. Journaling. The theme of this anecdote is journaling. So I'm talking to everyone about it. They're all hearing me go on and on without a resolution, and they must be very confused. Like, Marissa, are you fucking kidding me? Quit your job. Do not push your graduation date back from December to June. Do not pay tuition. Do not delay gainful employment. Like, hello, like, it's obvious, but I couldn't. And how many times can you not? How many times, like, we can't do it. Intellectually, we know, but emotionally, we can't do it. Journaling, amongst talking and meditating and other things, but journaling, girl, is what truly helped. I remember writing out a pro and con list. If I stay, if I leave, scenarios. I wrote about my feelings towards Lily, what I was afraid would happen if I left, how she and Lisa would be so disappointed in me and I'd just be remembered poorly and lump me into the pile of shitty former students who'd worked there. I also was able to, in my journaling, I drafted an email, a short and concise email, informing them that I needed to leave my position. And thanks to getting in alignment with myself, getting honest with myself, and truly seeking, bolstering, working through my solution, which was to quit, which was, everyone was saying that, but like I was the one who was actually going to do it. By journaling, I was able to achieve those 3 things, and I didn't. Despite the terror, I quit. I explained that due to the time needed to finish my thesis, I am quitting. And Lily and Lisa I think were disappointed. I can't even actually remember. I really can't. I think I just had a talk with them, told them I needed to leave, and they were like, okay. I sent it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks notice of me wrapping up what I've been working on, informing my fellow students of tasks that needed to be completed and leaving. And I finished my thesis on time. I graduated on time, and I, was able to get a job, gainful employment in my field soon after graduation. So it all worked out. So, journal. Some suggestions for you. First, if you're in a codependummy dilemma, you could write out the pros and cons of your solution with a twist. So sometimes you can do pros and cons, or you can do 4 quadrants. Pros for me, example about working. So I could have written out pros if I stay, cons if I stay, pros if I leave, and cons if I leave. They seem repetitive, and yet if you do this exercise, you will see how the reasons that you list, they're not the same, and it's slightly more empowering. Second idea is forecast. Forecast the future. For example, I could have written, if I stay, then what? What will happen? What am I afraid will happen? If I leave, then what? What will happen? What am I hopeful will happen? So forecast the solution. Third option, if you're having an issue with someone else or like a group of people, you could write a letter to never send, and just no filter, no concern for their feelings, just write your thoughts, feelings, and needs. Fourth option, you could write a letter to send or read or record and share. Those are some journaling ideas. That is your homework, focusing on alignment, honesty, and self-reliance through this tool for healing. Whatever codependent nightmare you are in right now, I encourage you to write about it this week. And journal. If you are needing help to know what to write, I would like to introduce you to the Confiding Codependummy, 30 Days to a Less Codependent and More Conscious You. Get yourself a copy of my premier collection of journaling prompts to help you stop playing small, start taking up space, you dummy. So, according to Google, confiding means willing to tell someone about a secret or private matter and trust them not to repeat it to others. With this collection of journal prompts, in an effort to help you getting into alignment, honesty, and self-reliance, you'll be confiding in yourself. Why you need this? This tool is going to help you develop awareness, insight, and consciousness, the consciousness you seek surrounding your codependency. All right, 6 goals that are achieved with this tool. You are going to see and understand the impact codependency has had on your life. You are going to remove blame from yourself for why you are codependent. It's not all your fault. You are going to acknowledge how your codependency serves you. You will process your emotions surrounding the messages you got that your needs were less important than others. You will get real and honest about what codependency has cost you. And you are going to identify ways to make sustainable change towards healing from your codependency. That is what I promise with this tool. So, if you are wanting that, if you are needing that, if you are desiring a more conscious and less codependent you, go to www.codependummy.com/tools for healing. Okay, codependummy.com/tools for healing. I'm going to include a link in the show notes, and you can get a copy today. The original price is $1 a day, right? Penny for your thoughts, like 100 years ago. I think with inflation, it's like $1 for your thoughts, $1 for a prompt. The original price is $30, but now through November 30th, to celebrate my thanks and appreciation this month of gratitude, Thanksgiving, you dear, sweet, loyal listener, can get a copy for just $20. You'll have access to the download and also hear from me every day for the 30 days of journaling prompts. I'm going to keep you on track. I am going to keep you focused. I'm going to keep you conscious. Yay! It's the podcast from your product, so I'm very excited to announce it to you all. www.codependummy.com/tools for healing. And that is it. That is a wrap. Thank you for your patience with my neighbor mowing his lawn, my dad cutting his box, and my sister playing her music. This is episode 48. Marissa Escobar, your hostess mostest. I will see you next week. Take care. Hey girl, it's Marissa again. I'm not like a regular podcaster, I'm a cool podcaster, right? Thank you for listening and staying till the end. You can find me on Instagram at Therapy with Marissa. Email me, marissa@codependummy.com. Check out codependummy.com for more information on the show. And baby girl, a subscribe, rating, and review would be much appreciated. Till next time, I want you to remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. I want you to go out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. And now, the disclaimer. Girl, this is not therapy and I am not your therapist. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, publisher, or guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional service. If you want or need a professional, please find one.